Welcome back to Around the Region. It's time for the Mayor and I to continue our discussion about the Lloydminster Bobcats. And I think, obviously, we both attended the big game on Friday, and I don't know about you, I was thrilled with the number of bums in the seats. We've been talking about that for some time now, people getting out and showing their support. The support of the fans is one thing. Now we need to get into the support of the people in this community who have the money to keep this team here. So probably what everyone is wondering is, where are we at right now? Are there interested parties, and what is the likelihood that this team is not only going to stay here, but that it's going to be locally owned?
Well, we've gone through a normal phase. The announcement comes out, there's a little bit of shock, there's a reaction. People say, well, we're going to save it, we're going to run around, we're going to get some momentum. And you see that. Then you get past that initial momentum and flurry phase, and now we're into people doing the due diligence to review the business model to see if they can make it happen. I am heartened, both with the attendance at the game, and I hope we see that continue through this week. But I am heartened by the telephone calls and the inquiries that we're getting. We don't have an offer in our hands today or anything like that, but I'm meeting with some people today. City Manager Carroll has done some meetings as well and has some scheduled. We have received phone calls. The people that are calling are real hockey people who could really make this happen. I'm impressed and happy today that there is activity, discussions, and I am hopeful that that we'll have something by March 4th.
Hopeful. All right. Well, the other question that I have then, and because I've gotten asked this, what is the likelihood that this team becomes, instead, privately owned? If there were a group of individuals who decided to join together and make this a community-owned venture. I mean, people are comparing it to the situation in Edmonton and that style of ownership. Do you see that as a possibility?
I can see a group owning it as an entity. I don't see a community owned in that sense.
Why not?
The problem is that the first cash call goes where? So they put together a fundraiser, a raise of $500,000. We're going to need, somebody's going to need $75,000 just to cash flow it to the first game. Okay. You know, you're going to then need potentially a cash call somewhere during that year where you fall short of operating cash, even if it's just cycles and the ebb and flow of cash flow. But if there is a loss, then are you going to go back to a community-owned group of people who were giving their best volunteerism, who were selling more cotton candy, who said, boy, I'll run the clock, and say, no, what we really need from you is $140,000.
Right. Big difference.
And that's a big difference.
That's a big difference.
I'll work the clock to, do you have $140,000 or you're 10% of that?
And then if there is someone out there who's, you know, maybe sitting at home and has a few $1,000,000 to spare, let's be realistic here. As far as selling it to them, you know, now is your opportunity to sit here and say to them, here's why the Bobcats need to stay here. Here's why you should invest. What are you saying to these people when they come to you?
Well, there are a lot of companies where the Bobcats and success in sports and team building and leading by example and getting to the front of a team-based organization would be very, very positive for their own brand, their corporate brand. It would be very good for their company. There may be, in fact, companies out there who have expertise in them that they could actually lend to running the team. And let's not forget that if one engineer, one doctor, one person who comes to town that builds a business comes because of this team, then the little bit amount that you have to subsidize as a business owner is small in the total scheme of things. So, you know, I think the profile that can be created, I think the opportunity for you to take great pride from your business and have your employees share in that sense of pride sets you apart as a company and potentially puts you in the forefront of a lot of success.
And then going forward, what do you see needing to change to make sure that we don't find ourselves, or that you as the mayor of the city don't find yourself in this position another 5 years from now?
Well, you know, sports franchises are funny things. You know, you can talk about the great big teams, the NHL and NFL teams. They go through this. They go through lean times and they go through really good times. I don't think we can say that there's a recipe or a formula that will have us not having a discussion about revenues and expenses and profit and loss of a sports franchise. It will go with the economy, it'll go with attendance, it'll go with whatever else is happening in the community, it'll go with how the Oilers go. There's a lot of things that will apply. I think you can put some sound business fundamentals in place, you can build some reserves and have a fund there that can smooth those ebb and flow days so that you have a sense of what it's going to take to be successful. But success breeds success. Winning, unfortunately, in sports is the recipe.
It's the recipe. All right, well, hopefully we've had the opportunity to share with all of you at home a little bit of the recipe of what's involved in this process right now, where it stands, and not only where it will take the city and potentially this hockey team in the future. Thank you very much for joining me and explaining a lot of this to the people that are concerned at home. And thank you all for joining in and learning a little bit more about this potential sale and relocation of the Bobcats. Stay tuned. There's a whole lot more coming up on Around the Region.